Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. Hope you guys been enjoying a lot of the content that's been out lately. Got a couple of reviews that are circling the channel, including this one, which we'll be doing right now. Just got back from the theater seeing this, and yeah, so hopefully the content just keeps on rolling. So we'll see how the next few days unfold. But just got back from the theater seeing this, and well, I have some thoughts. That film we're going to be discussing today is The History of Sound, which was directed by Oliver Hermanus, who I'm not familiar with if I check his work here. He did a film called Living, which was actually a remake to one of Kurosawa's films, Akira specifically, and also did films including Mafi, The Endless River, and the film called Beauty, as well as a film called Shirley Adams. Um, so, so interesting work here and there. I'm not familiar with any of those films, but Living is the one I've heard his name most connected to. This is starring Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor, so some fresh faces, at least in current Hollywood standard, kind of fresh new faces. Uh, and this is set during the events of World War One, specifically in 1917, where these two men meet each other, and they form a romance. They form very quickly a bond, and they very much are attracted to each other, and they very, very quickly try to get along and get to understand each other. And the film circles around the many occurrences that these two meet each other, specifically to very key moments, and ultimately the distance that is built between them, both through potential personal conflict, but also within larger conflicts um, that keep them at very much distance, because of just the world at large that may or may not be as accepting of what they are currently doing together. I went into this with some interest because of just what I saw by the trailer. It looked like some very interesting craftsmanship, some compelling performances, and that does extend to the overall film of what I've just seen, because what you do get that largely feeds into the positives of my feelings of the film is these two performances. I think both Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor do very commendable work here. I found their subtle nature to be compelling, and just feels very natural. It doesn't feel like that they're trying to overplay or downplay it. Feels just very much in that nice middle ground where it just comes across as very natural and very authentic. Um, and I don't know if they're putting on accents, but I also think that they did very well in that department as well. Um, Generally, by the craftsmanship, I think it to be very engaging. But I think that where we do run into issues here is that it does get very two faults actually. Well, the first of which I believe is a bit long-winded. For a film that is, as I check here real quick, for a film that is basically 2 hours, you do doubt the runtime at some point. It does feel like it is almost a 2.5 hour film packaged in a two hour film, and that also plays into my other problem with the film, which is that I feel that the large issue that plagues the film for me is its sense of focus. I feel it is much too central when it, I believe, requires more expansion, and maybe that to where a larger runtime, as it actually feels, it being a 2.5 hour feature, maybe should have been exactly that. But in the same time, it also does feel long-winded and a bit stretched out to what is quite simplistic. Because as it stands, I mean, what you do get, because the titling of the film, The History of Sound, it also they do try to present some kind of I don't know if I would call it a layering, but I guess a more of a subtext to the romance that is being delivered through the confine of music, because their bondage is that of music and that of just sound itself. And the film tries to play through that with, the Paul Mescal's character very specifically, who is very enamored by sounds, by pitchings, by just how, like, there's a point where he demonstrates sound through, a humming sound through his neck, and just the explanation and just how he arrives at these ideas. For him, that is a large part of his being, is, just discovering a certain kind of peace within that. And ultimately, that is what the film is trying to explore, this idea of filling in voids within each other's lives. And I do think that the film possesses the capability to be a lot more fascinating and a lot more layered. But because of how it is so central to a very specific study, and in some cases, characters, more or less Paul Mescal's character, you feel a lot of alienating of important developments that really could have empowered this. Um, and what you're left with is something that is still engaging and still compelling in terms of performances. I think visually it is quite impressive. I like some of the smaller details that take place within the edit. Like, there's this detail that I noticed that, because, like I said, music is kind of a part of this part of the story as a subtext. It becomes less prominent as the film goes along, because it's, without spoiling anything, but it kind of is a tragedy, not necessarily a happy ending per se. But so having music become less of a factor is kind of neat. But I do believe that it is long-winded. I do believe it is repetitive, and the reason for that is because of its simplicity, and its lack of layering, its lack of dimensions, or just the building of its overall structure and its overall edit does not lend itself to that deeper meaning that it is wishing to explore. Um, so I just think that it needed more of a sense of expansion, because of how central it is, because of how focused it is to a very specific viewpoint. It doesn't lend itself to more sense of character. It just feels more like a sense of bathing within a certain tone or a certain aura. And to that extent, there is something valuable there, but it isn't as in depth as I believe that the film wanted it to be, or that the film believes itself to be. So it's good, but I think it's more to do with technical and less to do with emotional, if you were to ask me. So so yeah, so those are my thoughts on the history of sound. I think it's fine. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's okay. But just seeing by the craftsmanship, seeing by the performances, seeing generally how it is being told, I just believe that it could have been a lot better if they had expanded out, the expanded out the developments and the characterizations, and allowed these things to flourish more, rather than being so isolative and pocketing itself within a very specific confine, because it just doesn't lend itself for more. It just makes itself less, even though it's striving to present more, or to deliver impact as if there is more. But there just really isn't. And I think that in expanding it out, I feel that it would have gotten more of that, more of what it's trying to get at, more of its points across than where we end up at. So, because it's just very simplistic, but there is definitely that shade of tenderness to hold on to. I just wish that it wasn't a shade. I just wish it was more of a wave than anything. So, but that's going to be it for my thoughts on the history of sound. Do you guys let me know your thoughts on the history of sound if you guys have seen it? Your thoughts on Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor. Very capable performers. I'd be curious to see more of their work. More or less Josh O'Connor. Paul Mescal's okay, but I think Josh O'Connor specifically, I would be curious to see. He's going to be the star of the Mastermind, Kelly Richards' next film. I really am curious to check that out. Saw a trailer for it when I saw this. But let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.